It's a joke in large organizations. Whenever we do hackathons, how are the same guys able to do so much in one night? And when we give it to our engineers in a PRD or whatever, that takes
3 months. What makes somebody a great PM? How they look different from a good PM?
What is a good product? Just the screen, is that a good product? Any fintech, when they onboard you as a user, they'll ask for your Aadhaar documents or PAN documents. So you would have no idea, but I would have taken a loan on your name.
That's happening.
That's happening. I left that job and then I tried to do my third startup. Again, did okay, did not scale as much, ran out of money again. I sort of decided, theek hai, this is third time is enough.
Usually people say third time with the charm.
Yeah.
For somebody who commits to a career like this, how much do you think they can expect to make? Hi Sagar, I wanted to start with how did you get started in your career and how you got into product?
Sure. Thanks for having me on the podcast. I really had no intention of actually getting into product management. It all really sort of happened by chance. Right out of college, I did a startup. Actually, my first 5 years of my career, I kept on dabbling with new startups. And that was always the idea, to build something of my own. I left that job and then I tried to do my third startup, which was Bond Forever. Again, did okay, did not scale as much. And I ran out of money again, third time. I sort of decided, theek hai, this is third time is enough. Maybe I should take
Usually
a break.
people say third time with the charm.
Yeah. Maybe for me, maybe fourth time is going to be the charm. But I felt very emotionally drained as what happens when you do a startup. So I thought maybe I'll take a break. I'll take some jobs and maybe make some money. And I thought jobs can't be as hard as doing a startup. So it is going to be much easier for me. So I took that path and I thought I'd do that for 2-3 years, but it's been a decade now since I've been taking leadership roles in different organizations. Looking back, I think I was not burdened by the pressure of trying to build a product career. So I sort of just chased my curiosity into, what I wanted to do.
I think you worked at Ola, SOP 101, ShareChat, and then Cashfree now. All very different product ecosystems. What were some key mindset or skill shifts as you made transition from one of these industries to the next one?
The really large organizations like ShareChat, it really felt like sort of making the Titanic turn a little bit. And even that is really hard. In very large organizations, you have to make sure that your strategy, thinking, articulation, all of that is really polished. And you're able to rally your executives to see that and, to sponsor those directions. In terms of growth work versus product work, again, it is really, really different. In growth work, you're really running experiments, like hundreds of experiments. The quantum of experiments is really large, and that's what you optimize for in terms of how can you run more experiments, because the path to success is really not linear. You really don't know how do you get to the end from A to B. In product, if you're building some platform, you sort of have an idea or 60-70% idea, how am I going to get from A to B? And then you can just break it down into chunks and say, okay, this is how I will execute. But you sort of have an idea how I'm going to get there. I think growth as a vertical or as a domain has established itself in the last 5-7 years. Product management is still like 15 years old, 10 to 15 years old. In terms of growth, the way I like to think is there are different types of growth projects that you can think of. People will tell you, okay, I work in growth. So what do? So I'm optimizing the acquisition funnel. So many people will say that. So that I put under the bucket of, let's say, UX growth. You're optimizing UX to, you're improving UX to optimize the funnel and therefore get growth. UX growth, I think, is slightly closer to product management. Then there is nudges-based growth. So people will say, we send campaigns and do all these sort of things based on some data, and we're running experiments to see what happens. That is more data-centric growth. Again, that is, you're not 100% sure. And the third type of growth, which is the hardest sort of growth, is the network based growth, where you're trying to manage, mostly in marketplaces, we're trying to manage the supply demand equation and one feeds into the other, and therefore you get the growth. So
It also applies to social networks.
apply especially to social networks
Yeah.
and marketplaces like Ola. So that was also my learning that when I am thinking of growth, I was thinking network growth, and how does the organization move in that direction. So it has significantly larger moving parts versus UX growth or nudges based growth or promotion growth, which is specific to what they do.
I think it relates to this very frequent question that we get from aspiring and even early PMs that do I need to know tech? And the answer is always it's very contextual.
Yep.
It depends on which kind of company you're working at. The usual response from our side is if you're going to work in tech industry, you are supposed to understand tech. You should know the basics. But depending on which kind of product you are working on, the extent to which you need to know what is happening behind the scenes might vary.
Yeah, I agree with you, and I get that asked very often too. By the way, I have not done coding in my career. So I've not been a developer before and then moved to product or whatever, right? Because I was doing my own startups, and whatever learning I had was sort of secondhand, being the founder of my startup, right? So, and I have built massive platform products, even though I have not been a techie. So it is not, like you rightly said, it is not always mandatory, but I've been able to do very system design debates with my engineering counterparts over the years. So you learn on the job also. It will be a very common expectation from PMs to know basic engineering and AI, and maybe also to be able to deliver some of these products.
Yeah. At what stage it makes sense for a company to have a dedicated growth team and then be able to afford to have these many misses until it starts working?
There are two ways of looking at it. If the company has established product market fit, of course you need to get to that point before you start investing in how do you really grow from here.
Okay, so until PMF, you probably don't need a dedicated growth team.
Yeah.
After PMF,
Yeah.
you want to figure out all different ways you can grow faster.
Yeah.
And at which point it will make sense.
Yeah.
That's what you are saying.
Yeah, exactly. So growth is about figuring out what are your exact incentive loops for your users to want to keep coming back to you, fundamentally. But if your core product proposition itself is not verified,
Yeah.
then there is no point trying to hyperscale it. I mean, I'm thinking in terms of when I was at Ola, cracking the right growth strategy itself meant survival or, dying.
Yeah. Because you also had such a competitive player in the market,
Yeah,
Uber.
So the cab business was already massive and we were doing great and all of that. And auto was a small category. In Ola's case, and because Ola was a big company, they could put more resources there. Cracking growth strategies through resource allocation was mandatory to get any success. So you're right. I mean, for very small organizations to figure out a lot of growth strategies to begin with, even if that means living or dying, is really hard.
Understood. How these AI tools are enabling even more of frauds. What kind of examples you have seen in the country?
Any fintech, when they onboard you as a user, they'll ask for your Aadhaar documents or PAN documents. Typically, they ask for your number, and you can verify that through government APIs. But for tier 2 and tier 3, what we have seen is a lot of companies also enable people on uploading documents, soft copies of documents, and there you have all sorts of thefts and fraud. There can be identity theft and fraud. I can basically use your Aadhaar document and upload that and use your name. And that is cross-checked when you do like a selfie check. There's a selfie check in the process. And there people will basically, I can use a picture. If I just use like a scanned picture and show it in that option, it would basically say, yeah, it meets. So you would have no idea, but I would have taken a loan on your name.
That's happening?
That's happening.
Okay. But how did they get the soft copies of the person?
Exactly right. Now you go to a hotel and you stay there. You are giving your Aadhaar copies there. You go to a Xerox center and you take Xeroxes and
We are
you
giving
scan.
it everywhere. Yes.
Everybody is giving it everywhere. There is a government regulation which says that you should not give your Aadhaar like that. You should make sure that it is masked, right? But nobody does it. So your
This is crazy. Like now I'm worried. All the places I have given my documents to.
yeah, which is also, if you have read and heard about the DPDP Act, which is the Data Protection Act that the government is coming up with. It is similar to the GDPR Act, which we have in Western countries. So Indian government is also trying to enforce that, I think, which is amazing. It's very important. It's going to be like a jolt for businesses in the way they conduct themselves as of now, but super important, exactly for the reason you're mentioning. I don't know all the companies that have my data and what are they really doing with it.
When you said one of the ways they are scamming these users and companies is like doing selfie check. But these days there is also a very elaborate KYC data happens. Like a person has to come on video, they have to show their PAN card in the live video. Can that be also faked?
Yes, that's deep fake video. So it's not so prevalent in India as of now. We have heard that to be an emerging threat in Southeast, where you can come on video, but it's also a spoofed video.
What makes somebody a great PM, and how they look different from a good PM?
What happens is, when you're a good PM and you can feel that you're a good PM, it is very hard to sort of be very cognizant on where you're lacking. Right. So I'll give you a few examples. Good PMs, you'll always see that they are very, very execution focused. They have high agency, but they're very they're very focused on making sure that the execution is really amazing. Great PMs are always thinking of impact. Okay, I'll make a good product, but will the impact happen? For example, you could build a feature, say, we want to get more reviews for whatever your product, we want to get more reviews. And so a good PM will, do a great job and will actually get that output, which is they will get good reviews or more reviews. A great PM is thinking, what's the point of it? Will it lead to some business impact? So that the great PM is always focusing on the impact and not just on execution. So they understand that all aspects will contribute to the end outcome or the end or the final impact, and not just their work. So in a way, they take ownership of impact, not just of execution. That is one very core aspect. I actually have a analogy that I give to my team often. It's like saying, all of us are engineers and we give engineering exams at some point. Then we were solving a physics problem, some whatever, right? A ladder is falling, what is the acceleration, whatever it is. So you're writing equations. So when you're writing the equations, that is the problem understanding part, So, and once you've written the equations, solving those quadratic equations is more maths, is less physics. Writing the equation is physics. I like to think that, you have to spend a lot more time in making sure that the equations are right or the problem you are solving is legitimate. And once you get to that, and then you can solve the problem. Finally, what happens is good PMs, they always get good ratings also, by the way. But they don't get the promotion. Great PMs, they'll get the good ratings and they'll get the promotion. Right? Because they've unlocked they've unlocked the strategy aspect of their work or the why of their work. And good PMs are really just focusing on the how of the work.
For somebody who commits to a career like this and stays in the game for, let's say, 8 to 10 years to get to a leadership level at one of these fast growing or tier 1 brands in the country, how much do you think they can expect to make?
I guess typically at a director level, I think most high growing startups, they're probably paying close to 1 CR cash. And you can add like 20, 30, 40% depending on the company as you move further from there. And you can also add, like, as you keep growing in your career, a lot of your compensation is also in the company ESOPs or stocks, because obviously the company knows that senior leadership is going to drive a lot of leverage for success, and so they need to be adequately motivated through stocks to do well.
Yeah.
So that's the typical design.
One question I wanted to ask: what are the 3 things that you look for every single time you interview a candidate?
So for early PMs, the first aspect that you want to sort of index on is just raw intellect, raw problem solving skills, because as a PM, you're going to solve very different, like 15 different problems in a year maybe, and over your career 500 different problems. So the problems will keep changing. You need core problem solving skills to be able to make it as a good PM. Second, very crucially for me is I am looking for people with high agency, which basically means high ownership mindset. People who have the knack or the inherent motivation to create impact for the end users, and not just thinking, how can I become a PM? How can I crack this interview? And how can I do some execution? We'll teach you how to be a good executor and all of that, but fundamentally your inherent interest should be to solve user problems and to own that, and to not be saying that, okay, what can I do? Something else got screwed up. And you do that through, probing a lot of the work that they have done in their past experiences, and you sort of try to peel the layers of, their experience, and try to get deeper into, how they went about their job and what.
Yeah, and whether they had the ownership of the outcomes. Like you said, you're looking for agency.
Yeah.
So you are looking for whether they owned the outcomes and took the end-to-end ownership, something like that, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And it is independent of which role they had before.
Yeah,
whether
absolutely.
it was a marketing role or a business development role or a design role or an engineer role.
Yeah.
Because in PM, people come from all these different backgrounds.
Absolutely. You should be curious to at least know what was the impact of your work.
Yeah.
Like the final impact of your work. If you're not thinking about that, then you're just thinking about your work in a very siloed manner, and that doesn't typically bode well for a product career. Third, I would say, just typically having very high customer empathy. You have a tendency to want to go deep into understanding user problems.
How do you think AI is going to transform both how people build products and product management as a craft?
As I see things today and how I see things shaping, the job of the PM is going to broaden in scope, in the sense that beyond just understanding user problems and documenting all of that, is going to move into actually creating the products. I think internally organizations are going to have platforms, going to build platforms which PMs can use to sort of stitch together systems and APIs, etc., to create at least like a functioning end product. The agile or the sprint system of working that has been going on for the last 2-3 decades, I think that's sort of going to maybe fade away.
Why do you think so?
Because the handshake between product and engineering, the way it is designed today, is I think why the concept of sprints really help to manage that chaos. But in the absence of that very stringent handshake, if the product manager is going to be thinking what to build or why to build, and they're going to be the ones who are actually going to be building it, so there's not going to be like a formal handshake with the engineering part. They're not going to be two separate verticals. It's going to be part of the same vertical. It's the same pod is sort of thinking and executing, versus one pod doing the thinking, problem solving, the second pod executing. So in the absence of that handshake, maybe the sprint cycles will sort of fade away. The full stack PM is maybe going to be on the rise. And I think people are going to form pods and very small pods with maybe like a PM, one engineer, and may or may not have a design person at all, depending on the product that they're trying to release. And yeah, so the product manager scope and what the engineering team is going to be doing and how they're going to be partnering with product, I think is also going to evolve very significantly. You'll see a lot more velocity in terms of things that are shipped out, in terms of the core expectation from product managers in general, I think is going to shift very significantly.
One thing that you said is maybe in companies there will be some internal tooling that will empower more people, more product builders to build things fast and release and see what sticks.
Yeah.
And second thing that you said about the sprint process, which was more or less a way to ensure that there is less of chaos and you end up releasing things that are a lot more stable, refined, and to the requirement as we identified in the beginning of the process. But now people would want to figure out how to release fast and see whether it works or not. And to release fast, you need less of process, and also you need less of involvement of a lot of people, which is going to be the case based on this idea that you shared, that the pods are going to be smaller. A single PM and engineer combo can ship things really, really fast. So thank you so much, Sagar, for coming to the podcast and sharing your journey and insights, and also the advice for the aspiring and early PMs.
Thanks for having me, and I hope your viewers find some value.
Yeah, they will definitely find value.